Hello, thank you for joining me for today's video. We're going to try this again and hope that all the gremlins and the issues that were going on this morning has got itself sorted out, and I'm going to be able to show you my box. So this is the box that we're going to be making. This was on my blog on Thursday and everybody seemed really excited to make it. So that was why this morning, after all my dramas, I just went away, had a coffee, reset, and here's hoping that everything's going to go fine now. So we're going to open up the box, and it has your 2 layers of Ferrero Rocher inside. I have put all the measurements up in the description, and I will blog this. Probably not next week, so it'll be on my blog early the following week, and I'll have all the measurements there as well, if that's going to make it easier for you to see rather than trying to follow them here. But the measurements are all over, right, or will be all over. Let's get started. So there's a few pieces here, and I'm going to start with my biggest square. Then we have 2 pieces, but I've already got one that's done, made up, ready, so I'm only going to score one of these. So this is for the 2 inside boxes, and these are going to be scored at 3.5 centimeters or 1 3/8 inches all round. Okay, hang on, that's the wrong piece. Let me just double check which piece I'm using here. No, that was the right one. Sorry, it suddenly looked like it was too big, but no, it's not. It is the right one. So let's just carry on with that one. And yeah, I'm jumping up and down here because sometimes I use the measurement on the bottom and sometimes I use the one on the top, but up to 3.5 centimeters you can use it quite comfortably over there. Right, so we're going to need 2 of these pieces, and then you're going to cut your tabs on all of them. Okay, so you can cut this with the scissors, but I'm not going to cut straight with the scissors, so I'm just going to cut with my trimmer, just because at least then I know that I'm going to get a cut. So we're cutting along the score line and to the score line each time. Okay, now what we're going to do is, you will have done it on all of them, okay, but just because it's the same thing every time and it's completely repetitive, I'm not going to do it all the time. I'm just going to show you one because we're making all of our boxes exactly the same. So now what I'm going to do is just notch this a little bit, because that then folds up and it's much better when it's neater, rather, when you make your box. So we're just going to cut a tiny little sliver off each of those tabs. Oops. And then fold along our score lines. Now it doesn't really matter which way you do it, whether you fold along your score lines and then notch them, or whether you notch it first, really doesn't matter. And I've got a new glue here, so hopefully we're not going to have any issues with the glue. Now you can use tear and tape if you want to, but the problem for me with the tear and tape is that as soon as you put that tear and tape down, it's stuck, and I just need that little bit of extra time where I can adjust things so that I can make sure that it's all lined up nicely. And we're going to just glue the last one. Alright, so we're going to do the exact same thing with notching and cutting all your pieces. So you're going to land up with 2 of your little box pieces, okay, and then a lid and another box. Now I'm using the Shining Brightly Designer Series paper for the inside, and I'm going to use this design from All About Autumn for the outside. So that's the one which has the woody look on the back of it. Right, so we're going to just, and you can see if you've got one side of your box which you think is better than the others. So if you've got one which you think is particularly bad, then use that for the back that's going to stick against the sides of the bigger box, but otherwise it really doesn't matter which one you're using where. So let's just stick our Designer Series paper on. And that one already has it stuck on because I was trying to do it that I could do some of the repetitive stuff beforehand. Not too much of it, but some of it. And then for our box, we're going to stick our DSP on all 4 sides. I think I said the box, I actually meant the lid. And you can use whatever paper you like, so if you wanted to, you could use the same paper on the inside as on the outside. I can't tell you any good reason why I decided to use the 2 different ones, but I just felt like it. So whatever makes you happy, and think about the person that you're giving it to and think about what colors they might like. So this, I think, would be a lovely little gift to receive, and use up some of that Designer Series paper stash. I think my thing at the moment is to use as much of my DSP as I can, because hey, we've got new DSP coming along. Right, now we need to do a bit more scoring because we need the piece for the sides of the box. Now the one thing for the sides is you will need 12" by 12" not Designer Series paper, cardstock. You could make it out of Designer Series paper if you want. If you're working with A4 paper, I'm not sure whether it would work okay if you used your A4, because that's about 0.8 centimeters too short, but you may be able to get away with it. But if you're working in inches, it's going to be an inch too short, so that's definitely going to not work. So try and get hold of some of that 12 by 12 paper, whichever one you want. Right, now we're going to score here at 3.5 centimeters. Then we're scoring at 10.7, 18 centimeters, and 25.2. If you're working in inches, that's 1 3/8, 4.5, 7 5/8, and 10.5 inches. Okay, right, now we're going to fold along those score lines and we're starting with our bigger box. We're going to put a nice bit of glue on the back because we want it to hold together and stay where it's put. Now I'm putting this one on my middle big scored panel and lining it up with the bottom. So the bottom of the box lines up with the bottom of the cardstock. Okay. Trying not to get my head in the way, but lining it up. Okay. And then we've got our two smaller boxes. So again, we're putting our glue along the back, but this time we're lining it up with the top of the paper. And we just want to make sure that when we close it, it is sitting nicely so that it's going to go past the box, past the bottom box. And you can see why I'm using liquid glue instead of tear and tape, because I definitely need that extra little bit of wiggle room. Yep. That one's worked nicely for us. And now for our next one. So this one's going on the other side, and same thing along the top and between those two score lines. That looks good to me. And yes, we're closing nicely. There we go. Okay. Now I see that this time I actually put it with my bigger piece of paper on the left instead of the right, and it doesn't matter which way it closes, whether it's going that way over or that way over. I think for me I prefer it that it goes the big piece over, but it doesn't matter which one. Okay, now you could have stuck your designer series paper onto the front of the box before you wrapped it around. I just haven't done it because I wasn't sure how well I was going to see between those score lines, so I just decided it would be easier for me to stick the paper going around once I had it folded up. It doesn't matter what order you do it in. Okay. Alright, now just watch with these side pieces because they're very similar, but the one way is just slightly longer than the other one. So just make sure that when you're sticking it on, you're actually getting it, that it's going the right way. There we go. I finally got the third one going the right way instead of having to double check it and turn it around. And then we've just got a little piece to go on the last one here. Okay. There we go. So that's going to fold up nicely. So let's get to the exciting part, putting some chocolates inside, because who doesn't love Ferrero Rocher? So you should get that you've got 4 sitting quite nicely and comfortably next to each other there, and then we'll fit the 2 into the top ones. So keep an eye out. I managed to get these on special for half price, which is always a good thing. And our lid is going to fit on top. There we go. Now for my sentiment, this one I used the Warm Wishes from the Berry Cute stamp set, but I decided that today I was going to play with the heartfelt hexagons. So let's do some stamping. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to throw things. Okay, so I see that we've got a few people joining us at my kind of strange time, so thank you for joining me, finding me. Hopefully the sound and everything is coming through clearly this time after all my dramas this morning. Okay, now I'm going to see if I get this right, because I don't want to tell you, I stamped it about 6 times because I couldn't get the 4U lined up in the middle this morning. And then once I got it lined up, I realized that I'd stamped it on basic white paper rather than very vanilla. So I wasn't happy with myself. And we're going to just, oops, I wonder if I can fix that. Stamp that little twirl over there and on the top. Put the paper away. And matching punch, which is always wonderful, because don't you love being able to punch stuff out? Sometimes it's just easier to punch than it is to have to die cut. I don't know why that happened. I must have put it on the block wrong, that it went on crooked, but that's okay because I knew I was going to have dramas with it, so I prepared one in advance. Right, now we're going to stick this on. And just remember, you don't want dimensionals on both sides because we don't want to stick the box closed. It needs to be able to open. So I'm going to just pop 2 down there. And like I said, it doesn't really matter which side it's on. I think that I prefer sticking my label on the bigger piece, but it doesn't matter. And then just in case you feel like your box needs a little bit of help, we can tie a ribbon around it. So I've got some of my Moody Mauve ribbon here, and just give yourself some wiggle room, because you always want rather cut too much to tie your bow, and you can always cut it down rather than cutting your ribbon too short and you then battle to tie bows. There's nothing worse than struggling to tie a bow. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just hook my ribbon underneath my label here so that it's going to hold everything together nicely, and then we can tie a nice bow. There we go. Alright, so there's our box in Moody Mauve, and my other one in the Night of Navy without its ribbon tied on top. So I'm happy that I finally got to do this after all my issues this morning, but I know that everybody was anxiously waiting to see it. So there you go. Go and make them.